Hello, everyone. My name is Allison Lincoln Rich with Kents Hill School, and I'm so glad to have you all here tonight. I am the Director of Admissions and Financial Aid, and we are going to have our head of school and our associate head of school and our Dean of Enrollment Management on here tonight to answer all of your questions. At the bottom of your screen, you see a chat box. If you could enter your questions in that chat box, I will relay them to the appropriate people. Super excited to see you all and can't wait to answer your questions.
And I'm Meg Bennett. I'm the Dean of Enrollment at Kents Hill School, and I'm really excited to have some time to chat with you all tonight. I do want to mention that as we go through this process, there are families on here who are in different stages of the admissions process with Kents Hill. And so some of the questions may apply to you and some may not, but just bear with us if you're somebody who's further along or has already received admissions decisions versus somebody who's just getting started and learning about the school. We'll probably be fielding questions that kind of range from the early stages right through what happens when a student is accepted. So bear with us, but we're really excited to answer your questions tonight, and I'll pass it over to Rene.
Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Rene Davis, and I am the Associate Head of School for Kents Hill. And that means that I oversee the Division of Student Life, and that includes residential life, our student activities, our athletics program, as well as our Health and Wellness Center. And I also, in my direct work, oversee our advisory program, as well as many other parts of your students' experience at Kents Hill. Super excited to talk with you all this evening, and I can't wait to get to your questions.
Evening, everyone. I'm Chris. I'm the head of school. This is year 6 for me. I also have a daughter who is a junior, and I have one who graduated, another daughter who graduated last year, and am excited to answer any questions. Just as a way of background, I started as a teacher and a coach, and have worked in college counseling, worked abroad for a few years, and then I grew up in Maine and was super happy to come home to Maine and work at Kents Hill School. And again, I always tell visitors they can ask me, even though Allison, Meg, and Renee are way smarter than me and know more about the school. I'm always happy to do my best to answer questions, whether they're easy ones or hard ones. So please, fire away tonight. This is what we're here for, to really give you a good, honest picture of Kents Hill School as we approach our 200th next year. So we've been around for, hard to believe, but next year will be 200 years of co-ed boarding education, one of the oldest in the country. So look forward to your questions. So we'll see who's daring and ready to go first. So fire away.
Great. Thank you, everyone. So a reminder to our parents, if you want to put your questions in the chat box, I can start relaying those to the appropriate people. I'm going to start out by asking Renee to talk a little bit about student life. That's something that's always important for parents and for students. So I'm going to ask her to do that and then look forward to posting your questions.
Sure. So student life at Kents Hill means lots of different things. I think from our parent perspective, it's absolutely about academics and the academic culture that we have at Kents Hill, where we really encourage our students to explore their curriculum and really bring their true selves to the school, all of their strengths, all of their weaknesses, and all of the things that they dream about, but they dare not ask. We also have a vibrant co-curricular culture or student life. A large part of that is our athletics teams and our theater program and things that our students can do in the afternoons to get to know each other, as well as to follow an interest or hobby. And then we have weekend activities and social life. I want to say that every weekend is cool because I find things intriguing and cool, but we have a series of student leaders that will help us program, whether they're on the ice rink or they are doing some warm and fuzzies in the residence halls, eating cookies, to going to laser tag or going bowling or exploring different parts of Maine. We really try to keep our students engaged, and we do our best to do that engagement in a way that our students can be connected and develop friendships and make solid relationships with faculty and staff.
Great. Thank you, Renee, for starting that. I'm going to answer one of the first questions myself. So one of the questions is, does Kent Hill provide computers to their students? The answer to that is no, we don't. We ask our families and students to bring their own laptops. Laptops are the best devices. That way they can take them from classroom and around the community as they navigate school. We do support any type of laptop that students have. So whatever you prefer, we're able to support that and make sure that our students are connected to our network. The next question is, what do the first few weeks look like at school? Renee, I'm going to pop that back to you to answer that one.
Sure. So we begin our school year with an orientation program. We have an orientation program that is specifically for our boarding students to allow them to acclimate and to connect as a residence hall community and learn and begin to learn about what it means to live with others, right? I think we're going from the I, the me, to sort of living in a community with the we. And so we really try to have our students come in and learn not only the rules of our community, but also navigating and living with others. We then supplement that with an orientation program that includes our day students, where we do name games and bonding activities. We try to quickly get our students into their routine around their academics, because that's what they're here for. And we know that that routine can help them settle. But we also pepper that with a lot of bonding activities over the next couple of days, where students will get together in their class year cohorts, and they will be with adults that are leaders of those groups. And they'll do, again, different outdoor style bonding activities. You know, some students might go camping, others might stay on campus and do a ropes course. You know, our upper class students and our seniors really look forward to those off-campus adventure programming that we have for them. So I'd say the orientation program is the first moments that they come on campus, but then over the course of the first few weeks, we really see the first 6 weeks as the time frame in which students are acclimating to our campus, where they will be supported by their advisors, and we'll have lots of connections in their advisory group to help them make those connections, but also get their footing on campus.
Thank you. Meg, do you want to help with the next question, where it's my child has been homeschooled. He has a detailed IEP. How do you feel like the transition into Kent Hill would be, and how would he be supported?
Sure. Yeah. So I think it's a great question. And I think one of the great things about Kent Hill is we can support a wide range of learners, and our classroom teachers are used to teaching to a wide range of learners within one classroom. We have a learning skills program, Aiken Learning Center. And we have, I think it's been around 40 or 50 years. Chris would probably know the exact date, but we've been doing this a long time. And so students who come in with IEPs or psychoeducational testing that have diagnosed learning differences that they're working through, our learning skills program and our learning center staff support those students, typically as part of their class, kind of their class day. One period would be designated to seeing somebody in the learning center, one of our learning center teachers, and working 2-to-1 or in small groups with those teachers. And then those are the folks on the academic side who are reaching out to that student's classroom teachers, and making sure that the classroom teachers understand accommodations, learning styles, and also those teachers are often, the classroom teachers are often reaching out to the learning center teachers just to get ideas and suggestions if they need support on how to better reach students. So there's really good communication between classroom teachers and the learning center, as well as the student's advisor, in supporting students who have different learning needs.
Can I add to that? I didn't introduce myself as a Kent Hill parent, but I am, and I have a student that is in the learning center. And that was my biggest fear, was around him being able to navigate this learning environment, because this is a rigorous learning environment, but being able to do that in a way in which he's also learning how to organize himself, he's learning how to advocate for himself, he's learning how to ask those questions. And I was pleasantly and overwhelmingly surprised by how many adults on campus got to know him, but also ask those proactive questions of him. His advisors, his teachers were asking, you know, how are you doing? Do you understand that? Like, what do you need? And that was heartbreaking. I mean, I actually started to cry one day when I was sitting there and I was listening to him talk to me about his classes and how he liked everything at Kinsale, because people don't wait for him to raise his hand. They actually reach out and ask him how he's doing. And that gave him the comfort to then start. I mean, he's not perfect at it, but starts to reach out and to advocate for himself and to really jump in and engage in the academics.
Great, thank you, Renee. The next question is about busing. So Kensal does have a bus for our day students. Our day students can be picked up in Augusta. It's around the Christmas tree shop area, and then in Waterville at the Mardens. And we do that both in the morning time, and we bring them back to those locations in the afternoon time. There is an additional small fee for that that is billed to the students' My Kids Spending account. But it's definitely something that's available, and many of our families use that until their students get their driver's licenses. And then sometimes even in the winter, when it's a little less comfortable to have your child on the road, that they can jump back on that bus during that time as well, so we can support them getting back and forth to campus. The next question is, my kid is entering their junior year, and I am concerned it's late with high school and the social scene. How do you help with students making connections at this age? Renee?
Sure. So I have observed our first and second year upper class students making connections through advisory, which is a small cohort of students that are in the same grade most often, that come together weekly to get to know each other, to sort of crowdsource questions and address problems, as well as just really sort of think about what this experience would be like for them as they move forward and begin to engage in the college process, if that's something that your student is interested in. I also find that activities is the primary way in which students connect, whether it be our affinity groups that are based on, race, religion, gender. So those are ways that students connected. Students connect based on interest, whether it's a photography club, or students are interested in, creative arts and they're in their theater program, or students are interested in athletics. I feel like it's those shared interests that has been a really strong way for students to make those connections. Our boarding program is based on class year as well as our advisory program. And so they are instantly connected with folks that are sharing that experience with them. And even though your student might be new, every junior is new. Like, they are going to come to that experience for the first time. And so that's how we approach it, so that they are all learning and growing around what it means to be a junior from the very beginning. And part of that is that sort of connections, that class connections program that I talked about during orientation, where we get them together and we talk about that together so that our new students are not at a disadvantage.
Thank you, Renee. I would also add to that we have new students in every grade level. We on average have between 120 and 130 new students each year. So there's lots of new students in the junior year. They would not be the only student in that class joining us. So I think that that's always really important to know, that your son or daughter would have many people in the same situation they are to help them with that process. The next question is about your advisor, and if that's your primary point of contact for students and parents. And yes, that is the answer. So your advisor is your primary person who really gets to know your student holistically. So on every aspect of their life on campus, they are the person that's going to be reaching out to you. They're going to connect with you and see how much communication you would like, when you would like that communication to happen, and really engage with you to understand what your goals are for your students. I'm going to let Renee see if she wants to add anything further to that as well, or Chris.
I say, in addition to your student's advisor, I also see myself as a key person for parents to connect with, whether it's you want a second opinion, or you just have some more general questions that may not necessarily be just about your student. You could also seek me out, and I am here for it. I'm a parent of a student as well, but I also like to sort of problem solve and sort of think about the student's experience. And so connecting with parents and learning about their student is a favorite part of my job.
All right. Next is questions about the safety protocol and systems on campus. Rene or Chris, which one of you would like to take that one?
Renee, do you want me to start?
You can totally start.
So these are the moments where it's also like the people who actually do the job sometimes need to jump in. I think, you know, one of the things I think about as head of school, like the most important thing is safety, right? Like parents are entrusting us with their kids either for, you know, as day students or as boarding students. And, you know, the number one thing, you know, like we all want to imagine that it's college or it's this or that. It's really about making sure that they have a safe environment, that they feel like they belong and that they are safe and can be the best version of themselves. So we have a number of safety protocols along different, you know, depending on what the situation might be. We actually did a test last week to make sure that every adult and every student received our emergency text message, so that our emergency text message system is working and that people have updated phone numbers in the system. We have a number of faculty members or employees who have done different types of safety training. Unfortunately, we live in a world where active shooter training is something that we do every year, where we talk to our students about what would happen if in fact we had an active shooter on campus. And we have a committee that meets regularly during the year to discuss, you know, and our physical plant person will talk about the ammonia in the hockey rink to make ice, to, you know, all different aspects of safety, you know. And I think the highest risk for us, you know, is we have 2 lakes and kids who drive. Those are probably the highest, you know, again, when we back up from all the craziness in our world, those are the 2 areas that are probably the highest risk for our students, just as they were when I was a teenager. And we make sure that we have protocols in place for all different situations. I would also say that we have, you know, a place where students can report bias and can report harassment anonymously if they need to, or they, you know, and so there's a whole range of things that we do around safety. And then I would add at the end, the most important thing is that we have adults who kids trust. And we try to really build a community where every kid feels like they have an adult that if there's something that's going wrong, if there's something that's not safe, they can go to that adult and get pointed in the right direction. That adult may not be the one who can solve the problem, but they can then elevate any sort of safety issue to Renee or to the other people on the safety committee.
I would also add that in addition to making sure we have trusting relationships with our students, we need to make sure that our advisors and all of the adults on campus are trained. And so we do training around mental health and making sure that we understand some of the early warning signs to support all of our students around their needs, right? And making sure that they're connected to our health center. We have a health center on campus that is a part of that safety committee that really helps us think proactively about what's happening in the world and how that might be affecting our students. We really do think about physical safety. And so the Dean of Community Life and I, at the end of each semester, go through our residence halls and we're looking at our physical space and we're trying to make sure that it meets the needs of our students in terms of safety, in terms of social life, but also the ways in which students connect and live today. And we are building our program around training our students to be good stewards, right? To be active bystanders and to also be paying attention in the spaces in which they live that we may not live every day, so they can also be good stewards of information so that we can really keep safety at the forefront of what we do.
Great, thank you both. The next question for the group is, what is the supervision in dorms? How is medications distributed? Mandatory lights out, study hall? Renee, you want to take that one as well?
Sure, I think they're gonna get tired of my voice, so I'm gonna have to start singing or something, but so every residence hall has at least 2 to 3 dorm parents that live in that residence hall, and they are a part of that community. The dorm parents are there along with other staff members like myself who might not live in the residence hall. And we do what we call duty on the evenings and the weekends, where we're there to support our students, to make sure that they are having their best life as a teenager, but they're not going too far outside of the boundaries of things that are safe and are healthy to do. And as a part of that role, as a person who's in the residence hall in the evening to do duty, I have a med box key. Our health center, and specifically our nurses and our clinical director, train all of us on how to deliver meds, which students get those medications, and our health center refills the med box every week so that students who have medications in the evening can get that at the time frame in which they need that. We do have mandatory lights out. And so we have a curfew that ranges between 9:30 and 10, depending on your age on campus. And then on the weekends, it's a little bit later. And so students have to be in their residence hall at that point. And then 30 minutes after building curfew, we ask that our students all be in their rooms. We call it lights out. We recognize that some students might, kind of use that as some downtime. And so we might not have immediate lights out in that moment, but that's when our residence hall go into 100% quiet hours and the students have to stay in their space with the goal of relaxation and rest. Along with the lights out, we also have an internet out. Some of my upper class students are really upset, but 30 minutes after our lights out, we then turn off our Wi-Fi. I think it's a little bit later on the weekends to give students a bit more time. And so you can imagine that that is not popular with our students, but we do sort of turn off the internet so that anyone who is gaming or streaming movies, we make that a little bit more difficult for them to do that in the evening. And we absolutely have study hall. We have different levels of study hall. Sunday through Thursday, every evening from at a minimum 7:30 to 8:30, but for many students it might go later than that. We have evening study where every student is asked to sort of pull out an assignment, work on their homework, and the person who is on duty is supposed to check that homework to make sure that the student is making progress. If the student shows that they're making progress, they might be able to get out of that study hall at 8:30 to go to our student center or go to our athletic center to kind of relax and hang out with their friends. We also have this program called structured study, where if a student is experiencing some academic difficulty, whether it is a grade or a series of grades that might be C- or lower, if a student has a number of missed assignments, then we might put that student in structured study where they have to be in that evening study for the full 2 hours, where the person who was on duty might work more closely with them to make sure that they're getting those assignments done. And or they might be asked to do their structured study during faculty office hours, where they're able to connect with a faculty member one-on-one or in a small group to make sure that they're understanding the material and that they are getting the support that they need. Our LC staff is available in the evening. So any student that is a part of our Learning Center program, they can do their structured study or their evening study in the residence halls or in the Learning Center. And so we find that many students will decide to go to the Learning Center. And then we have students who are working on group projects or group assignments. They will go to the library where we have duty staff members there as well to make sure students are making progress and getting support.
Great, thank you. Our next question is about how roommates are decided, and so I can take that one for a start on it anyway. So we work through myself in the admissions process, and we work with Rene and our director of community life. And then we also send surveys to students and to parents. We ask you lots of questions, the students and the parents. Do you like your room cold? Do you like it warm? Do you like to have visitors? Do you get up early? Do you stay up late? Through those questions, then we do our best to pair students with a roommate. Rene, do you want to add anything to that? Nope. So that process has generally worked really well for us. And so with that student input, we feel like we're making the best decisions that we can on the outset. Speaking of kids who drive that are postgraduates, are they allowed to have vehicles on campus? And if so, what is their restriction for access? So our postgraduates will often have a car on campus. They need to get permission to have that car on campus. We need to know what that car is, and the students need to turn their keys into our front office. Students are not allowed to have their keys. They're not allowed to just jump in their car and go to Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts. They have to have permission from their parents, and we have to know where they're going if they're going to be departing campus. That's a safety thing for us, making sure that we know where our students are so we can, best keep track of them and protect them. The next question is asking about when I might know if my son or daughter is accepted. And as we started this program, and you entered late, so no worries. The students are in all different parts of the process of admission. So files are getting completed and we make decisions. All decisions will be made by March 10th. Some decisions will be made sooner than that. So I would have you reach out to the person that you are working with, so your admission representative, and ask them, where in the process do you expect me to know when I might receive that answer. So those will be coming out as we move through. It's super busy. We are reading files and working through this as quickly as we can. Meg, do you want to add anything there?
Yes, I would just add if financial aid is a consideration, sometimes that, that's another process on top of us reading kind of the admissions part of the file. There's a committee that meets to look at a small committee that meets to look at financial aid. So there's also an additional process for that. And so that comes out in stages between now and March 10th, but everything will be out by March 10th.
Great, thank you. Renee, I'm going to jump back to you. Is the curfew the same for PG students as it is for younger students?
So yes and no. We do have a earlier curfew for our 9th and 10th graders, and then our juniors are kind of in the middle, but our seniors and our PGs have a later curfew, but the PG curfew is the same as our seniors. It's generally, I think, 11 on weekends, and I think they're able to sort of stay out a little bit later on the weeknights, but it is the same as our seniors, and so it is a high school curfew in which we ask them to think about lights out, or low lights, as we like to call it for our PGs, where I might not be making you go to bed, but again, low lights, winding down, so that you get the rest that you need as you are learning as a PG how to navigate this community in the same way that our younger students are.
Great, thank you. The next question is, how do we monitor our boarding students who want to leave campus?
I'll take that one. And so one of the tasks that we have on our weekends is we have a person who is called the administrator on call, and they will work with our receptionist to make sure that we know what students have permission to do different activities on the weekend. And if a parent, anytime our student wants to go off campus, that's not a school sponsored trip, we will connect with the families and make sure that our parents give permission. For instance, if a student wants to go to a day student friend's home for a couple of hours in the weekend, we'll reach out to the parents. We'll make sure that the parent is okay with them going to the day student family. We'll connect with the day student parent and make sure that they will be there to receive the student, and then we'll coordinate the transportation. Most often it is a parent coming to pick up our students, or there is a trusted adult that is part of the transportation. But in the few instances in which students have cars and are solid drivers, we might allow that student to drive to that location. We have parents that will sign their students up to go off with a relative that's in the area, or they might be visiting a local community. And so again, the parent permission is often the driver to when we will allow students to be off campus. And there is an adult who is checking in with their student when they leave, and then checking back in with your student when they are anticipated to return. And if your student does not come back by the time in which we anticipate, we will begin to call them, call the person that they're with, or call the family, just to make sure that changes in the program or the plans have not adjusted.
Great. Our next question is, when you talk about staying out on weekends, is that will they be hanging around on campus, or does that include off-campus activities?
So we have both. We have students that like to do some of the activities in our dining commons or our student center, but every weekend we will plan shopping trips so that our students will get their necessities met. And then we will try to program a fun activity, whether that is laser tag or going bowling or doing rock climbing. And so we will often ask our students what they want to do over the weekend and provide them a range of options. We will talk with our student proctors who will give us ideas around what students want to do, and then we'll program that. I think one of the staples of our weekend calendar is the shopping trips, because students, again, they love to go to Target, they like to go to our marketplace, but then we'll also put in trips to Freeport. And in the winter, students are often going snow tubing, and if they're not skiing on campus, then we're taking them to Sugarloaf. And so all of those programs are planned, in which we provide access and we provide the transportation. Like we have a movie trip coming up to see Ant-Man Quantumania. And so our students have been asking for this and they're really excited about that. And so we will frequently ask our students, what is it that you want to do this weekend? And then we will make that happen. And it's a Kents Hill adult, like a faculty member or a coach or another person on campus that is taking our students and often the driver of those activities, or to those activities, I should say.
Great, thank you, Renee. One more question, and please keep continuing to put your questions in the chat box if you have them. Is food mini refrigerators allowed in dorm rooms?
I'm just going to stay unmuted. So we absolutely allow students to keep food in their residence halls. Every residence hall has a shared refrigerator and shared microwave that students could put, refrigerator microwave in which they can store and prepare food. We do not allow all grades to have a mini fridge. That is a senior PG privilege to be able to have a mini fridge in their room. But yeah, our food is in abundant supply in our residence halls. And we also have a student center that is open nightly until 7 on weeknights, and then it's open until 9:30 and or 10 on the weekends. And so students are often able to grab some food, and then we will do restaurant trips every once in a while as a part of that activity, whether it's taking them to go to Thai food or going to a Mexican restaurant and having them explore culture through food is another thing that we will do on occasion.
Great. All right. It looks like our questions have slowed down. I'm going to ask Chris to give some closing remarks as we close this out for the night. Chris?
Yeah, thanks to everyone who joined tonight. You made it easy for me. We put all the pressure on Renee. I think it's been a really exciting time for Kents Hill School. As I mentioned before, we have our bicentennial coming up next year. And coming out of COVID, we have grown significantly and have a really, I think right now we're at 240 students. It's a really healthy and exciting community to be a part of. And I think that, one of the things that we have continued to grow and look forward, and I think really thinking about what does it mean to be a part of a community, to live in a community, to it's not just a thing. It's actually a part that everyone has to learn how to be a part of a healthy community. It's not just something that we say, but I talked to the whole school last week or Monday, I guess, maybe, about, what does it mean? What do we want our community to be? This is not just a thing. It's not just Kents Hill, but it's how we all live and learn together every day. The actions we take, how we treat each other. And that to me has been one of my favorite parts about Kents Hill, is that it is a place that has really strong values and character, and we have kids and faculty who really buy into that. And that, yes, I was a science teacher and biology is super important. But as I try to remind students that the most important thing is being a good community member, and how we all have our hiccups along the way, but it's a really, we are a place that really helps kids to grow as people over the course of their time, whether that's through their academics, through the dorm they live in, through their advisor, through their coach. There are lots of different pathways that our students find as really healthy ways to grow and to be prepared, not just for college, but for life. And really thinking about, how are you going to be a contributing member of your next community or of a community down the road? And that's really exciting. I'll add a couple other quick things. Allison, you can give me the sign whenever you think I should be done. As part of our bicentennial, we really thought about, who is it that we want to be as we think about not just turning 200, but looking out, beyond the next few years. And, one of the things is really thinking about prepared for anything. are our students prepared for whatever they're going to face in the future? And I've talked a lot about this in my time as an educator, and right now students are facing a lot of the problems that we thought they were going to face as adults, they're facing right now. And how do we, not just academically, but how do we help them to really think about what it means to live in a world that is facing extreme income inequality, challenges around racial justice, climate change. There's all sorts of challenges that are facing our teenagers. And to me, that's really exciting, is to help them navigate and figure out how to deal with that. We're also, really proud to be grounded in Maine, connected to the world. I think COVID reminded us what a great place Maine is to live and learn. We were one of the safest states in terms of COVID. And that reminded us, and Maine's not just a beautiful place, it's also a place that has world-class science, technology, engineering opportunities that we are working on connecting with. Some of the top genetics labs in the country are based here in Maine. And one of our goals over the next few years is really to connect some of our top students who maybe have an interest in that field to those places, so they get some real experience. It's also super important for us. We have over 30 countries represented here. And to have a real global population. And that, to me, is really important as someone who grew up in Maine, but then had the opportunity to live abroad. We live in a global society now, and we, however we want to approach that, I think that our students today are living in a different world, and will live in a different world in terms of the interconnectedness of people around the globe. Built on belonging, and we talked about a little bit, it's not just about diversity, equity, and belonging, but it's about really making sure that our students find their people here and find their adults, so that they feel like they belong in our community and can be the best version of themselves. And finally, I think one of the things that I find as a parent the most important is in your corner all the time, and having adults. I know that my teenagers sometimes listen to me, but one of the things that I really appreciated about being a part of this community is that I know now and knew when my older daughter was here, that if they were having challenges, they had multiple adults on campus that they could go to, and they knew would be in their corner. And I think that, that may have been the advisor, but it may also have been just another adult who they connected with in lots of different ways. And so those are, our four cornerstones that really, I think, make Kents Hill a really special place for kids and for adults to live and learn together.
Thank you, Chris. Meg, I'm going to ask you to follow up on the last question about class size and close out for the evening.
Yeah, so I don't want to get it wrong, but I think our average class size is around 13 or 14. And that can range. It can range a little bit bigger, not much, but a little bit bigger, and also smaller. I think it depends on, are you in kind of entry level or basic freshman classes? Are you a student that's at 11th or 12th grade that's taking AP? Depending on where you're at in that spectrum, classes could be smaller or bigger, but generally around 13 or 14 students in a class is where we fall. Definitely sciences, we have to get through labs and lab space. So there's a limit for those classes for sure. You'll never see a science class, at least not right now, where we have 18, 19, 20 kids in a class.
Great, thank you. Well, that looks like all of our questions, and we're so glad that you guys were able to join us tonight and ask some questions, encouraging you again to follow up with us as members of the administration. We're happy to answer your questions. As you may know, we are having a student session at the same time. That session is recorded, so I would encourage you to watch that if you would like to hear from students directly and about their experience here at Kents Hill. So thank you so much for joining us. And I think Meg wants to say one more thing.
Yeah, no, I was just going to add that, those of you, some of you might have experience with independent schools and others maybe not. As you go through the process, if you have questions, specific questions about certain areas of school life, please reach out to admissions, the person that's working with you. we're a school that's happy to connect. We connect with our kids every day. We're happy to connect with you. And so if you have specific questions about a certain program or area of our school, we might not be able to answer it, but we will connect somebody on our campus who is the expert in that area, and they will happily reach out to you to chat. So don't hesitate to get your questions answered and your child's questions answered as you go through this process. Just reach out to us. We will connect you with the right people, students, adults, whoever it might be.
Great. Thank you again for joining us tonight. We hope to hear from you soon. Good night.